Hello.
Okay, yeah. Hi, today will be the DevOps mock interview, day 6. So, yeah, welcome. Can you able to introduce yourself with
Yes.
your experience and with
So-
your any fake company? Don't reveal your original name, okay?
Okay. Um, my name is Samuel. I have 3+ years of experience in the field of DevOps. In my career path, I've worked on different tools like Ansible. I've worked on Terraform. I've worked on Kubernetes. I worked on Jenkins. I worked on Git, and I worked on Prometheus and Grafana. Uh, in my organization, ABC organization, my day-to-day tasks involve having a daily stand-up meeting, and from there we're gonna discuss the blockers, and we will. I mean, we will. Every members of the team will discuss what they face while trying to solve problem, and if there's any solution we can use in helping, we will suggest some solution to them. And I mean, basically, basically my day-to-day activities.
Okay. So, thank you so much for your introduction. And just for the suggestion, I will tell you that whenever anyone asks you about introduce yourself, you need to prepare some content before itself, and it should be exactly match 2 to 3 minutes. Right? You need to
Okay,
note down in a paper your roles and responsibilities. You can collect anywhere. Even if you can search in Chat GPT, you will get right from
okay,
there. Try to collect the information, and you need to practice it inside in front of your mirror and try to explain the same thing to the interviewer while attending interview, and it should be not more than 2 to 3 minutes,
okay,
so that it should come like it should complete within 2 to 3 minutes. And because no one was interested to listen you continuously, they will feel bored. They are not interested at all. They just came to take your interview, the technical part.
okay.
Yeah, and yeah, thank you so much for your introduction, and I'm just giving a opportunity for some other. So yeah, please introduce yourself. You can unmute and you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi.
Um,
Myself, Nirvan,
Okay.
and I have a 5+ years of experience as a DevOps engineer. And my previous company was some XYZ. In that, I have my team size was some 15 members. In that, we have I'm I'm only the DevOps engineer person, and I am handling the deployment to the QA and dev environment. In that, I worked in Jenkins and Docker and Kubernetes for containerization and for automation and infrastructure to create. Uh, I am using a Terraform to to monitor the tools to monitor the application. Like we use Prometheus and Grafana, and yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you so much. So if they ask me how I will introduce myself, but I didn't prepare at all, but still I will try my best.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So if they
Yeah.
ask me like, yeah, hi, this is Joseph. I have total 5+ years experience as a DevOps engineer. So like from past so and so years I'm working in this current company, and coming to the project, I worked on a project which is totally related to a e-commerce website. There we used to deploy a website into different environments. So I have got an opportunity to create this CI/CD pipeline from scratch. There I have implemented this CI/CD pipeline. So as part of DevOps, our main job was to create a pipeline and automate the application delivery. So I have worked on multiple tools. Apart of this, right, as part of source code management tool, I have experience in Git, Jenkins for CI/CD part, and I have exposure on containerization platforms like Docker and Kubernetes. So, and I got an opportunity to create a environment, which is I've created one development environment for one of the project using a Terraform in AWS and Azure cloud. So there I've created a VPC subnets, internet gateways, route tables. So depending upon the requirement, we got some Excel file along with the requirements. So I just followed that, and I've just deployed the total environment. So yeah, that's it about me. Thank you for the opportunity. So yeah, I didn't prepare it a lot, but whatever came into my mind, I just thrown. That's
Thank
it.
you. Do you have any templates? Maybe later we
Definitely,
can
I will
refer.
try to
Yeah.
prepare a template for you separately, because and
Okay.
for like whoever join, for him also I will prepare a template, because it should be different for different. Okay, that I will
Okay.
prepare you a template for you, and it should not match with this other person as well.
Yeah.
So I will prepare a
So,
template, and I will share it with you. Just give me some time. I need to prepare it.
sure.
Okay.
I will
And
send. Should I send you my resume so you can take a look at it to.
definitely,
Okay. Sure.
yes.
Thanks.
Send me your resume. According to your resume, I will prepare the template.
All right. Thanks.
Even for Rahul, whoever join, so I will prepare for him as well.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, then shall we continue for the mock interview?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let me share my screen. Just let me know, can you able to see my screen, and if there is any background voice from me, is everything is okay, right?
Yes, I can see your screen now.
Okay. Can shall we continue?
Sure. We can continue.
Yes.
So first question was, your team is implementing a CI/CD pipeline for microservice based application. How would you design the pipeline to ensure efficient testing and deployment of each service? If you
Um.
know, just try to answer it. If you don't know, just tell me pass. I will go to the next question.
Okay. I can try to answer this. Okay.
Super.
Um. So basically, what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to use Git and GitHub as the source code repository, and I will use Kubernetes as the target platform. So basically, what I'm going to do is I will set up the environment using CI/CD, whereby I'm going to use Jenkins as the orchestration tool that is going to be orchestrating all the tools. So in Jenkins, we're gonna integrate it with different tools like I'm going to integrate Jenkins with build tools Maven. Also, I'm going to integrate with the Docker Kubernetes for the monitoring of the application health. I'm going to integrate with the Prometheus and Grafana. So Maven is going to be the build tools, and we'll set up a pro SEM alongside with Webhook, so that if there's any code changes, it's going to trigger the build. So Prometheus and Grafana is going to be monitoring the application health. Maven is going to be the build tool, and we'll install some plugins like JUnit for JUnit testing, and we'll install some other plugins that is gonna like scan the Docker image like Trivi and Fortify as well.
Super.
Then we'll use Kubernetes for the exposure of the application to the outside world.
Super. You are almost correct, and yeah, you have impressed me. Next, let's go to second one. Your production environment experiences frequent downtime due to manual configuration errors. How would you implement infrastructure as a code to mitigate this issue? Your production environment experiences a downtime due to manual configuration errors. Someone was done some configuration changes manually. Due to that, your environment got downtime. Okay, how would you implement this infrastructure as a code to mitigate this issue?
So to solve this problem, I'm gonna introduce infrastructure as a code tool to them, which is Terraform. So basically, with Terraform, I'm going to I'm going to migrate all the manual configuration to Terraform. So there are some there are some command in Terraform I can use, maybe like Terraform import that is gonna is gonna bring the manual configuration to Terraform, and basically moving forward, I will store the state file in the remote backend, so that way um, I'll store the state file in the remote backend, and with that, I'm going to introduce a lock ID into it, like DynamoDB, so that it's going to resolve anything that has to do with conflict and corruption of the files.
Okay, thank you. So your team is adopting a new microservice architecture, and you need to ensure effective communication and collaboration between development and operations teams. How would you facilitate this transition? Right, your team is adopting a new microservice architecture, and you need to ensure effective communication between the development and operations teams. How would you facilitate this transition?
So basically, we can use what I'm going to do basically is I'm going to introduce Jira to them. So I'm going to introduce Jira. So that Jira is going to be a collaboration tool where everybody is going to be updating the team on how the project is going on. And I mean, we can always use like Git as well. And yeah, we can use Git. So whereby different team can always push the code into the repository, so we can always go there and I mean see the changes that have been made. And I mean, we're going to introduce branching strategies as well, so whereby different branches is going to be allocated to different team. And I mean, I can also basically use Docker and Kubernetes as well, because Docker is going to containerize the application, and since it's microservice, each aspect of the application is going to have its own container. So that way, it's not going to yeah. So basically, that's what I'm going to do. I mean, it's just all about DevOps practices.
So this is the exact solution. You need to implement this DevOps practices so that the collaboration will be happens, right, between development and operations teams. What DevOps will do? Same thing, right? So your organization wants to improve application performance and reliability by implementing monitoring and alerting. How would you design a monitoring solution to achieve this goal?
Um, I'm gonna implement I'm gonna implement Prometheus and Grafana to monitor application and server health. So Prometheus is gonna be collecting metrics, while Grafana is gonna be the visualization tools.
Okay. Now let me go to your team is migrating an on-premise application to the cloud. How would you ensure a smooth migration while minimizing disruption to users? Your team
So
is migrating an on-premise application to the cloud. How would you ensure a smooth migration while minimizing disruptions to users?
I mean, to me, I feel I mean Docker and Kubernetes is the solution right here.
Okay.
So Docker and Kubernetes is gonna be the solution right here. And yes, so they can always use, I mean, just use one of the cloud providers, maybe like AWS or Azure, and Docker and Kubernetes. The on-premises application can be Dockerized, and then Kubernetes is going to orchestrate them as well.
Okay. Your organization wants to improve release management practices to accelerate the delivery of new features. How would you implement continuous delivery to achieve this objective? I will repeat it again. Your organization wants to improve release management practices to accelerate the delivery of new features. They are developing some new features, right? They want to improve that. How would you implement this continuous delivery to achieve this objective?
So basically, I mean, they will. I mean, they're gonna implement a very good branching strategy. So if they implement a good branching strategy, that is going to help them as well. So when there's any changes, they can always use the branching strategy as well. So then, what they will do as well is after the continuous integration part, so they can implement GitHub. They can adopt GitHub practices like using using what is known as um, Argo CD. So Argo CD is going to be acting as the continuous deployment. So after the application has been containerized and it has been orchestrated by after the application has been containerized and the Docker image has been pushed to Docker Hub. So Argo CD is going to play a very important part of it in the continuous delivery by looking for the new Docker image and continuously pushing it to Kubernetes cluster.
So your team is experiencing frequent build failures due to inconsistent development environments. How would you implement infrastructure automation to address this issue? I will repeat it again. Your team is experiencing frequent build failures due to inconsistent development environment. How would you implement infrastructure automation to address this issue?
This one I'm going to pass.
So we can implement Jenkins, right, to automate this.
Okay.
So your organization wants to implement a disaster recovery strategy, right, for critical applications hosted in the cloud. How would you design a resilient architecture to minimize downtime in the event of disaster? I will repeat it again. Your organization wants to implement a disaster recovery strategy for critical applications hosted in the cloud. How would you design a resilient architecture to minimize downtime in the event of disaster?
Pass for me.
We can create uh, with the help of the Docker, we can minimize the downtime. For suppose uh, some percentage of we can develop a new container with some percentage. Uh, for suppose we have a 10 Docker containers means we can we can move 7 containers to the production. I mean in the working environment, and the remaining 3 will be unstable, and we can replicate that three containers, and we can patch that one, and we can uh, uh, slowly we can terminate the old containers, and we can implement the new containers without downtime.
So you are talking about auto scaling, right? We are
Yes,
just
yes.
discussing about the disaster recovery, nothing but a backup. So your answer was correct, but not for this question. Your answer will be correct for the auto scaling. Okay. Now next question will be, but thanks so much for at least trying. Your team is managing a large scale Kubernetes cluster and you need to optimize resource utilization and performance. How would you implement auto scaling and workload management strategies? I will repeat it again. Your team is managing a large scale Kubernetes cluster and you need to optimize resource utilization and performance. How would you implement auto scaling and workload management strategies?
You can always use probably rolling updates for the auto scaling. You can always use rolling update for the auto scaling. And for the yes, basically you can use rolling update for the auto scaling. And resource utilization, you can introduce probably like Prometheus and Grafana to monitor, I mean, the application health and to monitor resource utilization.
Okay. Last question. Okay. Your organization wants to improve security practices, which is related to SecOps, security practices by implementing infrastructure security as code. How would you integrate security checks into the CI/CD pipeline?
So basically, in the CI/CD pipeline, you can always scan the Docker image, right? So you can create an environment variable to manage secret. You can also use in Jenkins. You can integrate credential plugins, and also you can also integrate. I mean, what is known as like you can always use role-based access control. I mean, to give access to different people working on the infrastructure as well. So I mean, there are different things you can use. You can also use HashiCorp Vault. You can introduce HashiCorp Vault in your infrastructure as well. So you are using it to manage sensitive data. So you can scan Docker image as well. You can scan your Docker image using Trivi. So you can also install another plugin like Fortify to do code check on vulnerability checks on your code to make sure your code is free from bugs and all that.
Okay. So that's it for today. We have completed the 10 interview questions. Do you want to see the solutions for this 10? Shall I share?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, please.
Okay. First, I have asked you the question. Your team is implementing a CI/CD pipeline for a micro. You can able to see my screen, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. For microservice based application, how would you design the pipeline to ensure effective testing and development of each service? Your team is implementing a CI/CD pipeline for microservice based application. How would you design the pipeline to ensure effective testing and development of each service? So I would answer will be I would design a modular pipeline where each service has its own stage for building, testing, and deployment. Additionally, I would incorporate parallel execution to speed up the pipeline. Right? If there are multiple environment, you can create a parallel builds. Tools like Docker for containerization and Kubernetes for orchestration would ensure consistency and scalability across services. So let me check what is the solution provided by Stephen. Okay, these are the answers you have said, but this is the right answer. So I would design a modular pipeline where each microservice has its own stage for building, testing, and deployment. Additionally, I would incorporate parallel execution to speed up the pipeline. So you are right, 50% right. I'm not telling you are wrong. Tools like Docker for containerization, Kubernetes for orchestration. So your production environment experiences frequent downtime due to manual configuration errors. How would you implement infrastructure as a code to mitigate this issue? So you are right for this. I would use tools like Terraform or AWS CloudFormation to define infrastructure configuration as code. By codifying infrastructure, we ensure consistency and reproducibility, reducing the risk of human error. Infrastructure changes can be version controlled, reviewed, and tested before being applied, minimizing downtime. So third scenario will be your team is adopting a new microservice architecture and you need to ensure effective communication and collaboration between development and operations teams. How would you facilitate this transition? So I would promote a culture of collaboration and shared responsibilities by implementing practices like Devops, where development and operations teams work closely together throughout the software development lifecycle. Automation, continuous integration, continuous delivery pipelines would streamline communication and ensure alignment between teams. Your organization scenario 4, your organization wants to improve application performance and reliability by implementing monitoring and alerting. Okay, how would you design a monitoring solution to achieve this goal? I would use a combination of monitoring tools such as Prometheus, Grafana, you are right, and ELK stack for to collect metrics, logs, and traces from application and infrastructure. By setting up alerts based on predefined thresholds and implementing proactive monitoring, we can detect and respond to issue before they impact users. Scenario number 5. Your team is migrating an on-premise application to the cloud. How would you ensure a smooth migration while minimizing disruption to users? Your team is migrating an on-premise application to the cloud. How would you ensure a smooth migration while minimizing disruption to the user? I would follow a phased migration approach, right? Starting with a thorough assessment of the application dependencies and requirements. So that's very important, right? If we are migrating from one environment to another environment, we need to check the dependencies, application dependencies, and the requirement. So by leveraging cloud native services and automation tools, we can replicate the existing environment in the cloud, perform testing, and gradually migrate workloads in stages. Continuous monitoring and rollback plans would migrate risks during the migration process. Scenario number 6. Your organization wants to improve release management practices. To accelerate the delivery of new features, how would you implement continuous delivery to achieve this objective? Your organization wants to improve release management practices. To accelerate the delivery of new features, how would you implement continuous delivery to achieve this objective? Answer will be, I would establish automated CI/CD pipeline that facilitates the seamless delivery of code changes from development through testing and production environment. By automated build, test, and deployment process, we can reduce manual effort, ensure consistency, and deliver updates to users quickly and reliability. Scenario number 7. Your team is experiencing frequent build failures due to inconsistent development environment. How would you implement infrastructure automation to address this issue? So I would leverage tools like Vagrant or Docker to create reproducible development environment that closely resemble production. By using containers or virtual machines, developers can work in isolated and consistent environment, reducing the likelihood of environment related build failures. So your organization wants to implement a disaster recovery strategy for critical application hosted in the cloud. How would you design a resilient architecture to minimize downtime to in the event driven of disaster? So disaster recovery, I would design a multi-region architecture with redundant components and data replication to ensure high availability and fault tolerance. By using cloud provider services like AWS Route 53 for DNS failures and AWS S3 for data replication, we can automatically redirect traffic to healthy regions and minimize downtime during a disaster. Okay, what they are telling, they are telling a solution where you can store your data in AWS S3, right? In AWS S3, every data will be stored as a versioning. So if something happen, you can go back to previous version, and your data will be in form of replications. And they are telling for DNS related, you can use AWS Route 53. So your team is managing a large scale Kubernetes cluster and you need to optimize resource utilization and performance. How would you implement auto scaling and workload management strategies? Right, your team is managing a large scale Kubernetes cluster and you need to optimize resource utilization and performance. Okay. Just a moment. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Your team is managing a large scale Kubernetes cluster and you need to optimize resource utilization and performance. How would you implement auto scaling and workload management strategies? I would configure horizontal pod auto scaling and cluster auto scaling to automatically adjust the number of pods and nodes based on resource usage metrics. Additionally, I would use Kubernetes resource quotas and limits to prevent resource contention and ensure fair allocation of resources among workloads, right? Exactly matched, right? You need to
Yes.
optimize resources. How you will optimize the resources? By limit resource quotas, like limits and request. Okay. And for performance, you will need to use horizontal part autoscaler, which is autoscale. So I'm not asking you the direct questions. I'm giving you a scenario. Accordingly, you need to think over it and you need to answer. Your
Okay.
organization wants to improve security practices by implementing infrastructure security as code. How would you integrate security checks into the CI/CD pipeline? So I would integrate security scanning tools like SonarCube, OWASP, JAP, or Trevi into the CI/CD pipeline. You are right, Stephen, to automate security checks throughout the development lifecycle. By scanning code of vulnerabilities, conducting static and dynamic analysis, and performing penetration testing, which we can identify and remediate security issues early in the development process. Okay, I am just taking my time and collecting the best questions. I'm not collecting, I'm designing the best questions for you, and it will be difficult compared to the real interviews. I'm making a difficult compared to real interviews, because if you can able to answer my questions in the real interview, you will able to manage easily. You will not have that fear, and I can give you a guarantee that Stephen definitely get a job within 1 or 2 months.
Okay.
You just
Because
need to attend interviews. Definitely you will crack a job, because you
okay.
have performed superb in this mock interview, because you have tried your best and you have answered the questions. Okay, that is enough.
In fact, my last interview with the man, he was very impressed. That was why he moved me to the final stage.
Okay,
Yes, he was very impressed because the interview was for 34 minutes. So he was very impressed. So they moved me to the final stage.
that's great. You are going to crack this final stage as well, and all the best for joining into a new company.
Thanks.
You will definitely
Thanks.
crack it and you will come back with a good news.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I'm gonna send you the JD. I'm gonna send you my resume as well, so you can take a look at it.
Okay, okay. First thing,
Okay.
you need to prepare a script for introduction part, and you need to prepare a script for your project.
Okay.
Okay. Whenever they ask, "Yeah, hi, introduce yourself," you need to explain the same script whatever you have prepared in your brain. You need to, and it should be 2 to 3 minutes. That's it. In the 2 to 3 minutes, you need to cover everything,
Okay.
and thank you. You need to end. Then after, they will ask you a question. Okay, on which project you have worked. Then after, you need to explain about your project. What is the technology of your project, right?
Okay.
What is the main business of that product? Like what is that project about? What it will do, right? What is the business of that? You need to explain in that way, because at the end, companies are doing business.
Okay. I'm going to share you the project they are working on as well. So like the company as a whole, what they are working on, like it's just like a payment, this thing for retirement, people retiring. So yes, I have the information with me. So I just have to convert it into a project, which
Okay,
I will send it to you because I'm trying to use ChatGTP as well. So to develop a project from that. So that way I can explain accordingly.
okay, sure.
Okay, thanks.
So that's it for today. Let me stop the recording.